In a recent meeting I had with a client, I asked a number of questions, and then she said to me, "Come on, you're Doug Goldstein from Profile Investments. Why do you have to ask all of these questions? You're the financial guy. You should know what to do." Well, I appreciated the compliment, and I'm sure that to a certain extent I understood what she was saying. But the fact is, when you're dealing with a financial professional, it's a partnership. It's not that you're just turning over everything and he's going to manage all of it for you. And that's where we came up with the Profile Review and Refinement Strategy, the R&R Strategy. For those of you who are more Army kind of people, you'll know that R&R often means rest and relaxation. But by doing the Review and Refinement Strategy, you're actually going to help yourself to rest and relax. Because at the end of the day, what you're really looking for with a financial professional, because I hope you know by this point of listening to and reading what I've written, we don't have prophecy. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But what we are able to do is to design portfolios for you that should be able to match what your tolerance for risk is, that can help you to achieve your goals, and do all of that while hopefully keeping your stress levels down. So what is the Review and Refinement Strategy? Let's dive right in. When we're looking at a portfolio, and again, I say we because I'm doing it with the clients. The people that I talk to often come into my office here in Israel, or we get on a Zoom call or a phone call, and literally we're going to start by talking about the data. We're going to look at the portfolio. This is what you got. This is the amount of cash in the account. This is when your next CD matures. We're going to look at the overall allocation, look at the areas where there's more risk, where there's less risk, what specific positions you've got in the portfolio. Now, depending, of course, how interested you are in this conversation will depend on how deep we go into all of the details. But I feel it's my responsibility as your financial guy to explain to you what's going on, to give you the data that you need. I like to teach people a lot. As I mentioned many times, I got into the business. I was partners with my mother. My mother was a vice president at Dean Witter. She was in the business for about 17 years. In fact, my mother's mother was one of the first women to be licensed as a stockbroker in America. So I've got a lot of women in my family handling money. But in working with my mother, one of the things that was great is she taught me that she had been a teacher before she was an investment advisor, and she used to spend a lot of time teaching our clients. So I think it's important that it's not just someone telling you what to do with your money, but it's someone who's teaching you what he thinks, giving you his opinion, so that you ultimately can make the decisions. I always tell people that I'm not the puppeteer and you're not the puppet. I'm not controlling everything. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to explain to you why I think you should do what you're doing. If someone explains things and you have no idea what he's talking about, it means he's not doing a very good job explaining. And I think I do a pretty good job, but I always ask people, is this clear? Am I explaining it okay? And if I feel that they're not getting it, we'll start again. We'll take it from a different angle, because it's so important that you know what's going on with your money. When you don't know what's happening, have you ever been on Space Mountain in Disney World? One of the things that makes Space Mountain such a frightening roller coaster, and by the way, it's not the most frightening roller coaster out there by any means, but the reason it feels so frightening is it's in the dark. You don't know what's coming up next. People who don't know how to manage their portfolios, don't know what's going on in their portfolios, of course they're going to be afraid, because they don't know what's going next. They don't know what's going on. That's what a data-driven approach is all about. This is all part of reviewing and refining your portfolio. Then, of course, we really need to make sure that there's quality involved. We need to look at the pieces of the portfolio and make sure that each one really fits into what you're trying to do. And sometimes there's an investment that A, just may not be doing very well and it's time to get out. B, it just may not be the right one for you. Maybe, and again, I often use the term when I think about my clients, that they're ambitious. Why do I say that? Not everyone feels that he's ambitious as his personality, but I think that anyone who leaves his or her home country and moves thousands and thousands of miles away to come to Israel, that's ambitious. Good for you. You've made some changes. You're brave. You've done something wonderful. And the last thing I think about my clients is they have a commitment to excellence, and so we have a commitment to excellence. We think that setting up a personalized strategy that's excellent for who you are is so important to make sure that you're successful on your financial journey. I often think how lucky I am in my job that I get to work with people to help them make their lives in Israel successful. We all know that it's not so easy. I'm sure you've heard the old joke. How do you have $1 million in Israel? Come with $5 million. So these days, actually, it's not such a good joke because it's not true so much. I know lots of people have literally made their fortunes in Israel. In order to be successful on your financial journey, you've got to make sure that you are taking the steps that are going to make your overall financial plan successful. But that plan is dynamic. That's why you have to review on a regular basis. And you've got to update me on what's going on in your life, whether there's new family members, a divorce, a marriage, a new expense, something coming up. That's what you have to keep on top of. So generally, there are going to be three things happening. There's either going to be fluctuations in the financial markets. Now, the last time I can remember that there were no fluctuations in the financial markets, I can never remember that happening. That's the point. There's always something changing. There's always going to be changes in the stock market, in the bond market, in interest rates, in the tax code. There's always something new going on, and we've got to adjust, right? We have to review and refine your portfolio. And there may be life changes, right? Adaptations in your life, like we said, a marriage, a new baby, a new goal. Maybe you decide to retire. Maybe you don't decide to retire and you thought you were going to retire. All of these things are going to change how we are dealing with your portfolio. Imagine if for years and years we're working together and you said, someday I think I may get an inheritance, but I have no idea what it's going to be. And then out of the blue, unfortunately, you end up with a $4 million inheritance. Well, that changes the equation. This is something that we need to talk about, review, and refine what's going on in your portfolio. And by doing this, this allows us to, again, the word I like using is ambitious, because the people that I'm working with, they may not be excited about taking risk, but they're ambitious about succeeding financially. And that's the type of client that I like to work with, because I think that's the type of person that I am. And then we're able to combine and work as a great team. We're great partners. The point of working with a financial advisor is that everything's customized for who you are. How do we know who you are? The first thing that we talk about are what your goals are, what you're trying to do with this money. In these conversations that I have with people when I first meet them, I'll often ask in many different ways, what are you trying to do? What are your goals? What's the money for? And then over the years, I keep asking these questions because the goals change and we want to keep our eye on the ball. And that's what hands-on support is all about. That's why having someone who's going to help you to review and refine your portfolio on a regular basis is so important. So if you're working with me or you're not working with me, the crucial thing here is that whoever you're working with should be spending the time on a regular basis to understand what your situation is, what the changes are, and then refine your portfolio based on that review. I hope this was useful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to get in touch at profile-financial.com.